Welcome back to Newsmax Now. Here's a look at how the markets fared today. As you can see, all the indices did pretty well. They're all up. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve decides this Thursday if it will raise interest rates. The U.S. Central Bank has kept rates low now for more than 8 years, trying to aid the country's recovery. With the economy looking strong, many predicted the Fed would raise rates, but the volatile market over the past month has some analysts unsure of the Fed's next move. We'll talk much more about this with the potential rate hike with Tom Hutchinson. That's coming up here shortly. Meanwhile, the House will soon vote to lift the nation's ban on oil exports. That's at the end of the month. The measure to lift the nation's 4-decade ban is expected to pass the Republican-controlled House, but its prospects in the Senate remain unclear right now. Reports from the Energy Department suggest lifting the ban could lower gas prices here in the U.S. General Electric plans to move 500 U.S. jobs to Europe and China. GE says the move is in an effort to avoid losing business to foreign rivals. The company blames U.S. policies for forcing them to leave. Twitter isn't just about tweets or likes. The social website has now made it easier for candidates to raise small donations. Twitter is teaming up with payment processing company Square to allow for easier donations to candidates' campaigns via its Twitter app. And how about a cerveza with that burrito? Wicker Park's Taco Bell in Chicago will be holding a soft opening today to try its new alcohol menu. The fast food giant will now offer beer and wine along with stronger booze. It will permanently sell liquor starting next week.
Within the next month, I will introduce legislation that will make every public college and public university tuition free.
Free education, great for an applause, and something Bernie Sanders thinks should be a right of every citizen here in the U.S. Sanders has been drawing huge crowds, including 12,000 students at the historically conservative Liberty University, as you can see right here. Sanders' campaign promises free health care, free college, and raising the national minimum wage to $15 an hour. But as Steven Crowder points out on Twitter, how does he plan to pay for all of that? For more on this discussion, we want to bring in now Tom Hutchinson, senior financial editor of the High Income Factor newsletter. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, it's great to be here, Miranda.
So, Tom, the Wall Street Journal reported this morning that Sanders' proposals would cost $18 trillion over 10 years. That's a pretty huge number. Can you put that in perspective for all of us watching?
Yeah, you know, what do you do when the national debt has more than doubled in the last 10 years? When you have an estimated $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities in Medicare and Social Security? Well, that's easy. Just spend a whole lot more money. Let me put that massive amount in perspective. That's increasing government outlays, the level at which has gotten us into the hole we're in, by about 50%. Now, he says he's going to pay for it by raising taxes. I think he's found $6.5 trillion. He said only $11.5 trillion to go. But that would be, according to his numbers, that would increase government outlays to 30%. We've averaged about 20% of GDP. That would increase government outlays to 30% of GDP. We have never had a tax regime, whether high taxes or low taxes or in between, that has enabled us to average bringing in more than about 17 or 18% of GDP.
So, Tom, let's break that down. So how much would that cost the average person here in the U.S., like roundabout per year? What do you think?
Well, if he was going to actually come close to paying for it, you'd talk about a 60 or 70% tax hike.
Wow. Wow. Okay. We'll also have to ask you, we're just a couple days away now. We've reported that the Federal Reserve is supposed to decide whether or not to raise interest rates at a meeting Thursday. We want to know, what's your crystal ball prediction?
My prediction, I would say my prediction is that they do raise.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, there's a good chance they don't, but I'm siding with the fact that they will raise.
All right.
I mean,
We're running out of time.
I mean,
Tom Hutchinson, Senior Financial Editor of the High Income Factor newsletter. Thanks so much for joining us. And you can learn more about the High Income Factor simply by going to moneynews.com/IHF. Did I get that right? All
yes.
right. Thanks for joining.